Hi there, this is week 3 now in distance learning, and kind of starting to set a direction, a precedent of a little bit different than we did last year, focusing more on kind of our 2-day cycle. Obviously, if you want to keep working and starting on things on Monday because you just love history and you're like, I can't wait till Wednesday, you're more than welcome to do that. But I've divided the class now more into kind of 2 days. And so the idea of what I'll be doing on Wednesdays with the A group is really focusing on these videos, but then doing this in-class assignment with them. And so like on Wednesday, you will only be able to access this assignment if you're an A student. And then for B students, you'll be able to come in and work on these things. A students, when you're at home, you should work on these things and then finish this up, and then B students will go through that specifically in class. So the workload is always going to be a kind of lower for A and B students depending on when you're coming into class. If you would like to think of this as like day 1, 2, 3, 4, you're more than welcome to do that way. But I'm just trying to set it up so that we can kind of get into this cycle in the hybrid instance of day 1, we're working on this on Wednesday. Day 2, we're working on this on Thursday, and it doesn't really matter if you're there or not. And then this assignment, if you are there. So I'm not going to really talk about this assignment in the intro because all of you should show up into class either Wednesday or Thursday when I'm going to specifically kind of take you through this. So this is obviously our week intro. What we're going to really look at now is kind of the background and the idea of what were the causes of independence with some specific examples, and the two being the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party. I mean, these are kind of infamous events known throughout all time. So the first thing, we're going to look at the Boston Massacre, and I know that in probably your sophomore year, you may have looked at the etching here, and this is basically the combination of an article about the actual events in the Boston Massacre. And if you look at what this opens up, it's basically the detailed event like the day after the Boston Massacre. So I want you to just kind of read through that and then compare it to what you see in what is the engraving. And so this is kind of an interesting thing about the Boston Massacre. Paul Revere was a really well-known etcher. He made engravings that were often used as like the photo pictures in newspapers or what they called the posters that would be put throughout towns to kind of include the idea of what happened. So this is obviously that etching. And so kind of reading the article and then looking at the picture, I want you to just go into a little background of like what was different between these two. There's also a little clip here that kind of goes into detail about the Boston Massacre using this HBO clip from the HBO series John Adams. And all I really want you to do is just to kind of detail a couple differences between what happened and then how that looked in the Paul Revere etching. So you're really just comparing this article to the etching here. And some of this article can kind of help you that too. There's some real specific things. And so the first day of class, so those of you in the A's, we'll kind of talk through this together in class, and you can meet in the Google Meet and overhear what I'm talking about. But then we're going to move into day 2, which those of you that are A students will then kind of work on this on your own. You can catch in on the Google Meet if you'd like. Basically, you're doing an OPVL about the announcement of the Boston Tea Party. So this is actually kind of the telling of what happened to kind of plan people for being part of the Boston Tea Party. And you're just basically explaining the origin, purpose, value, and limitation of this as a source, if understanding kind of the significance of this event. So that's the first part of the day 2. The second part of the day 2 is then to read through the proceedings of the committees of correspondence. And then this is just kind of a link that takes you through some of the ideas of things that were going on in planning of that Boston Tea Party and kind of the effects of it, with some annotations included to kind of explain why they are significant. And this is important because this will help you furthermore with our in-class assignment that we're going to be working on and talking about a little bit more later in class. So again, if you are an A group for Wednesday, you should be working on these two things. If you're a B group, if you're an A group on Thursday, you should be working on this at home. If you're a B group at home on these two things, and then when you get to class, we'll talk a little bit more specifically. So there'll be some repetition, and if you go ahead and you're doing this Monday and Tuesday before you get to class, you're going to be fine, because you're going to have a little more time then in class to work on this assignment, which I'll talk about when you are in front of me. We will talk later. Have a good day.